Central Nervous System Flashcards. Q. What is the Central Nervous System, CNS? A. Command center of the nervous system, consists of the brain and spinal cord. Q. What is the role of the CNS? A. Integrates sensory information, coordinates conscious and unconscious activity, initiates motor responses. Q. How is the CNS protected? A. Bony structures, skull and vertebrae. Meninges, protective membranes. Cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. Q. What are the two primary types of cells in the CNS? A. Neurons, transmit electrical signals. Neuroglia, glial cells, support and protect neurons. Q. What are the main components of the brain? A. Cerebrum, diencephalon, brainstem, cerebellum, limbic system. Q. What are the main components of the cerebrum? A. Cerebral cortex, gray matter, white matter, myelinated axons. Basal nuclei, ganglia, gray matter. Q. What are the four lobes of the cerebrum, and what do they do? A. Frontal lobe. Reasoning, planning, voluntary motor control, parietal lobe. Sensory processing, spatial awareness, temporal lobe. Auditory processing, memory, language understanding, occipital lobe. Visual processing. Q. What structures make up the diencephalon? A. Thalamus, hypothalamus, epithalamus. Q. What is the function of the thalamus? A. Relay station for sensory information to the cortex, filters and directs sensory signals. Q. What is the function of the hypothalamus? A. Regulates homeostasis, body temp, thirst, hunger, sleep-wake cycle. Hormone release. Q. What structures make up the brainstem? A. Midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. Q. What is the role of the cerebellum? A. Coordinates and refines movements, maintains balance and posture, motor learning and timing. Q. What is the function of the limbic system? A. Emotion, motivation, memory, learning. Q. What are the key components of the limbic system? A. Amygdala, emotion, fear, hippocampus, memory, hypothalamus, cingulate gyrus, olfactory structures. Q. What is the structure and function of the spinal cord? A. Structure. Cylindrical structure extending from the brainstem. Function. Transmits signals between the brain and body, mediates spinal reflexes. Q. How is the spinal cord protected? A. Vertebrae, meninges, cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. Q. What are the two main parts of the spinal cord's internal structure? A. Gray matter, white matter. Q. What does the gray matter of the spinal cord contain? A. Neuron cell bodies, dendrites, unmyelinated axons. Q. What are the dorsal and ventral horns of the spinal cord's gray matter? A. Dorsal horns. Receive sensory information, ventral horns. Contain motor neuron cell bodies. Q. What does the white matter of the spinal cord contain, and what are its functions? A. Myelinated axons, ascending, sensory, tracts. Descending, motor, tracts. Q. What are spinal nerves, and what do they have? A. 31 pairs that emerge from the spinal cord. Each has a dorsal, sensory, root and ventral, motor, root. They are part of the PNS. Q. What are meninges? A. 3 layers of protective membranes surrounding the brain and spinal cord. Dura mater, arachnoid mater, pia mater. Q. What is cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, and what are its functions? A. Clear fluid in the subarachnoid space and ventricles of the brain. Functions. Cushioning and protection, nutrient transport and waste removal, maintains a stable chemical environment. Q. What are the key functions of the CNS? A. Sensory input, integration, motor output, higher cognitive functions, reflexes using these flashcards. Active recall. Try to answer the question before looking at the answer. Spaced repetition. Review flashcards at increasing intervals to reinforce learning. Shuffle. Shuffle to prevent memorization by order. Focus on weak areas. Target areas where you have difficulty. Explain out loud. Teaching someone else or verbalizing the answers out loud is beneficial.